first up we have Sarah.
Hello. My name is Sarah and I'm running for president of the Grad Week Executive. I've tried really hard in my 4 years here to be as involved as possible, and this has kind of seemed like a great way to end it off. I am running unopposed, so it just takes a yes vote from enough graduates. But if you want to know anything about Grad Week, or if you have any ideas, please let us know, and we will try to schedule some cool events.
Hey, so this time I'm speaking for myself. My name is Michelle McDougall. I am a graduating biology major, minoring in chemistry. And yeah, I want to get involved with Grad Week. I'm running for secretary. Just because it's our last year at UPEI, it's something we've all been looking forward to for a long time, and so I'm really looking forward to graduation, and I just want to make it as fun and enjoyable for all the students. So yeah, I think I'm approachable, accessible. I've had a lot of experience organizing small-scale and large-scale events through Biology Society as a Shinorama coordinator and as a science counselor on the UPISU. So I think I can really bring these experiences forward to help plan a great week. So yeah, I'm also running unopposed, so I'd really appreciate your vote for yes. Hopefully you don't vote no. And yeah, feel free to approach me with any ideas or questions. Thanks.
Thank you. I'll do it differently. These are 2 out of 3 possible candidates. The other individual is in the middle there, invisible. I'm going to give these ladies 30 seconds to introduce themselves, just for those of you that don't know them. And then I have 3 questions to ask each of them. So whoever wants to go first?
Hi, my name is Shannon Moore. I wasn't able to come yesterday because I was in class and I had to tutor a student. But yeah, I'm Shannon. I'm a 4th year student. I have a double major in French and psychology, and I'm running for valedictorian. Yeah, and I'd just like to speak on behalf of you because I feel like I can represent the student body that is graduating well.
Hi, I'm Dunya, and I'm a poli-sci major with a Spanish minor, and I want to be valedictorian because I believe that I can properly articulate a captivating message to the whole graduating class, and I have a great passion for involvement, and I would like to relate the farewell that you would take with you to your future endeavors.
Great, thank you. Okay, so we have 3 very quickly formatted questions here. So the first one being, how has UPEI changed you as a person?
UPEI for me, I like how it's so small, and I've said this to all my siblings who have moved away to a different university, but I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of different people, have jobs on campus, be teaching assistant on campus. I've been able to meet so many different people, whether it's at the bookstore, whether it's TAing them in social psychology class, or whether it's just meeting them at the Wave on the weekend. So I'm really, really happy to be here at UPEI, and I know my positions, whether volunteer or work positions, I really have the opportunity to meet a lot of people, and I'm really happy to be here just because it's so small and so unique and so precious, such a little campus. So I'd really like to represent you, speaking to you as a valedictorian, because I feel like I've kind of been involved in that process, and whether it's 4 or 5 or 6 years it's taking you to complete your degree, I'd like to share that moment with you in the little farewell at the end of the year.
I feel that a university degree is what you make it, and personally for me it wasn't just going to class. For me it was very important to go out there and venture out into different groups, meet as many different people as possible, and be as involved, because I feel like without the experience that I have received throughout my 4 years here, my degree wouldn't have nearly as much value as it does. So I thoroughly embraced everything that the university had to offer, and it has really made me grow as a person, and it made me appreciate what this institution has given me. So that's it.
Thank you. Okay, next up we have, to you, what defines a valedictorian? And we'll start with Dunya this time.
A valedictorian is an individual who is to give the final farewell to his or her graduating class. that would be the dictionary definition, I suppose. But to me personally, a valedictorian is an individual who can make the farewell very relatable, so that as many people in the room at graduation as possible, that they could relate to the message that you're sending to them, that they could get some sort of inspiration, get some motivation to keep going and achieve their goals that they want to achieve following their undergrad or following their master's or whatever it may be. Or even if they don't want to continue on with their education, to follow their other goals. So I think that being relatable is probably the most important as a valedictorian, and of course having experience in public speaking would definitely help, which I definitely. I can speak public.
Okay, here we go.
For me, I guess, what was the question, sorry?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, I gotcha, sorry.
Repeat it.
For me, I guess what's important is that you have a relationship with everyone that's crossing the stage when you graduate. Not only that, but that you are a good public speaker, or that you're comfortable in front of one another, and also that you can add a little bit of humor. Valedictorian, typically when you watch modern movies, it's the highest academic standing that presents the valedictorian address. But I think at UPEI it obviously means something different because we vote for ours. But I think, like I said, to have relationships with people that are graduating, and to really just be comfortable in front of those people, to share the experience that we've had in the past at UPEI, and also just to add a little humor in it, because smiles and laughter are always good for a happy day.
Thank you. Okay, one last question. What would set your speech apart from the speeches of your other opponents? We'll start with Shannon this time.
I guess I've learned a lot from everyone that I've met at UPEI, and I've had some pretty deep conversations with different people that I've met everywhere, so I think I have a grasp of what UPEI means to those people that are graduating. And I find that there's always a goodness and a passion within each person, and I think what would separate my address apart from different people is that it's not exactly your successes that make you, but in the process of your learning and how you develop as a person, that's what's most important. So I think that my focus would just be on the goodness of a person, and if anyone knows me, I really stress around relationships with other people and the goodness within them. So I think that's what my focus would be, instead of a list of things that we've done at UPEI that make us the best we are, but rather the process that has made us who we are today.
Thank you.
So I would certainly second what Shannon has said. I mean, we both have had similar experiences, and everyone has had a unique experience during their undergrad, so it would be difficult to sort of just speak to each and every person individually, but as a whole, what would set my speech apart would be that it would be a message, an inspiring message to everyone, and it would be that just a positive message that you could take with you after your undergrad, and obviously I would want it to be very captivating and very relatable, again, reiterating what I said before.
Great, thank you. Okay, do we have any questions for our valedictorian candidates? Nothing? No? Okay, thank you, ladies. Okay, so first up we have our education candidate, and she will be given 2 minutes to introduce herself and explain why she thinks she is right for this position. Go ahead.
Hi everyone, my name is Christy Dewey. Can y'all hear me okay? No? Is that better? Yeah, there we go. Alright, so my name is Christy Dewey. I'm running for education representative. Just a little bit about myself. I guess I'm a first year education student. I am in the French program, so I am fluent in French. I'm currently the first year French representative for Education Society. And next year I'm going to be VP Academic. So I guess my reasons for running for this position are just that I really care about the students in our faculty. This year is going to be quite the transition. We're implementing a one-year program. So I just really want to ensure that all students are happy both in the 1-year and 2-year program. And that's more or less it, I guess. I'm going to be accessible, approachable, easy to talk to, and I would love the votes of all the education students.
Great job. Thank you. Any questions from the audience, really quick? No? Okay, we will move on to arts. Next up, we have our arts representative candidate.
Hi everybody, my name is Alex Berry and I'm running to be Arts Representative for the Student Union. I am a third-year standing student in History and Political Science with a double major. Why I think I'd be good for this position? I really enjoy being involved. I've been involved in many areas on campus and I want to continue that. And I do think that I do a good job in the arts representative because I do play a big role within the arts department at UPEI. So, yeah.
Good job, thank you. Any questions from the audience? No? Okay, we will move on to our science representatives then.
Hi, I'm Anna, or Anastasia Repairable. I'm going for science rep. I'm a third-year bio student. I like people. I like being involved, and going into my last year, I want to do something for the school because I like being in clubs and everything, and I'm friendly. I hope at least approachable to everyone. So vote yes to me. It'll be real sad if everyone votes no.
Thank you. And we'll hear from our other science representative first.
Hi, my name is Emma McDermott. I'm a first-year science student and I love to be involved and I'm absolutely loving the program. So what better way to get involved than to be the first year or just the science rep in general for the student union. So I love to talk to people and I love to get to know all the science students, so please vote yes.
Any questions for our science candidates? Nothing? There's a couple science students in the room. Any questions? No? Yes, Lucas.
Yeah, you guys are elected science rep. What steps do you think you will take to better connect with the science faculty?
I'll give you each a chance to respond.
Be really visible, make sure everyone knows your name and your face, and talk to the deans and faculty advisors as often as possible, and your teachers. Keep connected with everybody.
As science rep, I would talk to as many students as possible, so even waiting before labs, because there's those awkward breaks sometimes in between, I would talk about the student union, what they're doing, and try to get their input and ideas while they're waiting for labs.
Thank you.
Thank you. Timer says we're done. Thank you, everyone. And
Speaking on behalf of Laura Weisner, she's running for the Senate representative position on the Student Council. Laura has been in this position for the past 2 years and has had a great time and lots of success with it. She's involved on campus in many other ways as the promotions coordinator for the EPISU. As well, she's also a campus life advisor. So essentially, she's been involved both academically as well as extracurricularly. That's an interesting word. But anyway, she's a lot of fun and she likes to be involved. I think she'd do a great job for it. So she's running unopposed. So please vote yes for Laura Weisner.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Travis Gordon, and tonight I am playing the part of Alex Frazier, Alex Hyington, and Christopher Rice. I will start with Chris Rice. Unfortunately, I have to be in Summerside for the presentation of a group project of the Heart and Stroke Foundation. I would love to be here to debate with Alex, but we we've spent our entire semester working on this presentation, and I have to let my team down. I would love for any questions to be directed to me on my Facebook page, and look forward to hearing from you, from any or all of you. Chris. And I have a statement from Alex Hyington. Good evening, everybody. I would like to start off by saying how sorry I am that I can't be here with you this evening. As some of you may know, I'm doing my campaign for the position of Vice President Communications from abroad in Istanbul, Turkey. So for those that don't know me, my name is Alexander Hyington. I'm a third-year student from Alberta studying anthropology and environmental studies. I've worked with the SU before as chair of council and worked in recruitment for 2 years. Both were such great opportunities. However, I'm excited at the possibility of using my more creative, artistic, thoughtful, and clever skills on a daily basis for the SU and people at UPEI. So could I ask you all a favor? Would you please post the questions that are asked in the debate tonight, there is no debate, on my Facebook wall titled Alex Hyington for VP Communications, so that I could have the chance to answer them for you. Obviously, it's not ideal, for I wish I could be with you, showing you just how much I care and am dedicated to trying very hard in this campaign and earning your vote. However, instead, I am out in the real world learning all sorts of new and interesting things, which I can't wait to bring back. But do keep in my mind just how much I love UPEI and miss it dearly, and would be honored to be the VP Communications for the UPEI-SU. I have some really neat ideas that would be great to share and try out. These are also up on my Facebook wall. My biggest thing is being personable, whether it means figuring out how to be more personable or sharing some of my ideas that I think will help. Sometimes people get too worked up in something looking great or sounding right, or there is too much work to handle, that they forget the thing that really matters, which is the students and connecting with them. And I want to do that. I want to build connections and show people how important it is to care. I also want to take this time to thank everyone who has been sharing and supporting me through online means, as well as asking questions. Whether or not you vote for me, know that I'm so excited to be running for the position and just the overall learning experience. I also can't wait to return to PEI and UPEI. I think the first thing I will have after getting off the airplane will be a Spud Islander pizza from Famous Peppers. So for the next little while, I hope you listen and question and support those who are running. And please don't forget to support me online. Even a nice little comment or a like here and there is great. Cheers, and have a great evening debating. And the karaoke that will follow, I think she means that there will be karaoke on Thursday night. Alex.
That was my favorite one.
Ready?
Yeah.
Go.
Okay, I'll keep my introduction short because I would rather get to the questions, frankly. My name is Travis Gordon, and I'm a third-year student at UPEI studying political science, economics, and public administration. I think I'm well suited for the job of Vice President, Academic and External, as I've had a number of experiences here at UPEI that I think will contribute to the work I would be able to do in the position. I've been involved with the Student Union for a number of years at the council level, as a managing editor with Cadre. Hey Cadre, I miss you. And I've also served at the executive level as well. I have a passion for public policy and advocacy, as well as academics here at the university. And so I think the work that I would be able to do as VP Academic and External would be I lost my train of thought. I think I would be good. I'll put it in simple terms. And I think we'll leave it there. I think I'd like to get to the questions. So.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so this one comes from the current VP Academic and External Committee. Travis, you have worked on a variety of policy positions over the course of your employment with the UPEI Student Union. In regards to your future work, what areas of advocacy would you like to focus on for the upcoming year, if elected?
How much time do I have?
You have 2 minutes.
Okay. I think that's a great question, actually, because anybody who knows me knows I'm a man of many opinions. I think there are a number of issues in post-secondary education that need to be addressed. I think one that I've been sort of steadily gathering information on, just sort of out of my own curiosity, and a little bit for work as well as is extending freedom of information legislation to UPEI, which would enable external groups or really anybody on PEI to request information from the university, which could be related to a number of areas. That's one thing I've been sort of interested in as of late. I think there are a number of roles that the province plays in post-secondary education that I think also demand a fair amount of attention. And I think the UPEI Student Union has some fairly solid asks just this past year in terms of needs-based grants and parental income. One thing that I'd be interested in looking at next year is the issue of in-study income. Currently, the Canada Student Loans Program, and by extension, the PEI Student Loans Program, only allows students to sort of exempt $100 of their weekly earnings. If a student makes more than $100 a week, then that money is clawed back from money they would get from the loan program to pay for their education, which personally I think is a little bit ridiculous. Students working is no longer just something that happens offhand. 60% of students are working now, and the average amount of hours worked per week is 18 hours. And if you use a simple minimum wage calculation, you can see that those students are getting clawed back $80 per week on their loan with a 34-week study period in university. So that's one thing I'd be interested in. How am I doing for time?
You have 1 second.
Oh, I was gonna say something, but oh well.
Okay, next question. What is currently the most crucial issue facing the student union? And should you become elected as the VP Academic and External, what specific and concrete steps will you take in order to effect change on this issue?
Okay. Obviously, as somebody interested in the position of VP Academic and External, I'm always focusing on the issue of advocacy and making sure that the student union has an adequate capacity to address issues that are brought forward from students. I think right now, executives lead extremely busy lives, and sometimes there's just not enough time to address some issues, and I think that's extremely unfortunate. One thing I'd like to see, and I did see it in Lucas MacArthur's platform, as well as, or perhaps he was answering a question. This is something I've been thinking about for a little while, is the addition of a student support person to assist on issues of policy and research for when the student union is formulating new asks for government of the university, or perhaps one of the executives needs information on something. I think just generally more support in terms of information gathering and the ability to have things put together. As I said, people are extremely busy in the student union, and I'm not interested in seeing projects fall through the cracks, so I think we need to build the capacity that we have there.
Great, thank you. So this one I actually also asked to our president, our presidential candidate. Can you differentiate between the role of the VP Academic and External and the president?
I would say so. I think if you look at the job descriptions of the VPAX and the president, you might not see very much overlap, but I know there is a fair amount of overlap there. The VPAX is the union's chief lobbyist, and often my understanding is takes the lead in meetings, but that doesn't mean that the president isn't also there supporting the VPAX in meetings or whatnot. There are also a number of issues that the VPAX and the president work on together, especially around issues of academics and issues that are occurring at the university level. I think that we, as a student union, we need to be careful just from an organizational point of view in making sure that things aren't overlapping, because that creates naturally inefficiency. We need to make sure that resources are being directed where they need to go. We need to make sure that if things are being done, they're not being done twice. And I think one of the major things that requires is communication and strong lines of communication between the president and the VPAX.
Good, thank you. 2 more questions. Which order? What is one quality about yourself that will need the most working on if you were to be elected as VP Academic and External?
Sorry?
What is one quality about yourself that will need working on if you were to be elected as VP Academic and External?
I think that, let's talk about personal flaws now. I have a few. One I'll talk about is I tend to have sometimes extremely high, sometimes unreasonable expectations of people in the work that they do. I think it's always important, not just for the student union, but generally to sort of manage expectations and realize that perhaps not everybody has, how can I word this? That's a tough question, and I know why they ask it in job interviews all the time, because it often stumps people. And it's stumping me right now. I'll go back to my original point. I have high expectations, and I expect high performance from people who, in this particular instance, are interested in working for or perhaps serving in another capacity at the UPEISU, and I think that's something I'll have to look at next year and make sure that I'm sort of managing expectations in terms of the output that people can manage.
Great, thank you. So we have one more question, and then we'll open up the floor for questions. How do you see the UPEISU improving its campaigns relating to post-secondary education in the year to come?
Well, I'll link it back to sort of the issue of increasing the advocacy capacity of the organization. A key component, two key components actually, of effective advocacy are communication and engagement. We need to have engagement among our members to be able to have a strong voice to act, to advocate for students. And I think campaigns play a key role in that, in engaging the people that we try and represent. And also, trying to solicit feedback from the membership, but also communicating to the membership the work that we're doing. So I think campaigns play a key part in that. I think there does need to be a little bit more of a focus on communication generally, and I think campaigns can play a definite role in that. I'll be totally honest, I'm the sort of person who, if you ask me to plan an event, and some people in the room will know this very well, I pull my hair out and I'm a basket case for the week. So we need to make sure that if we're doing that sort of thing, assuming I'm elected, I think it needs to be a team effort among the team, engaging people like the president, the VPAX. The VP activities is somebody who comes to mind, and the VP communications as well, not to leave finance out of the picture. But yeah, I think in terms of effective campaigns, I agree that we need them, some rather, and I think if we're looking to engage in one, it needs to be a team effort.
Great, thank you. So that's all the questions that I have on my sheet. Is there any questions from the audience? Now that our audience is half the size that it was. Any questions? Yeah.
No, never mind.
No? No worries? Okay, anybody else?
Serious questions. I don't want to make a joke of it.
Doesn't have to be perfectly formal. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what your thoughts on. You did mention that communications is something that the student union needs to be working on. I'm wondering if you have any ideas of how the union can better their communication with their members.
People have been trying to answer that question for years, and next year will be no different. We'll be looking for a solution to the age-old question, and student unions across the country have this problem. I know it's in the strategic plan this year, but I think we really need to look long and hard about how we're communicating with students. I was just giving it some thought as I was over there. If we want to address specifically the issue of, say, student apathy, then why don't we go out and ask those students who are regarded by some as apathetic, how can the student union actually engage you, instead of, sitting upstairs and trying to, think up these ideas about how we think the apathetic students could be engaged. Why don't we go out and ask the students that people regard as apathetic how we can actually engage them?
Anybody else? Oh, awesome.
Hi, Travis. Just one fairly quick question. I'm just wondering how maybe you could better the communication between the student union and societies that do not have representatives.
Okay. You mean non-sort of faculty associated clubs or sub-organizations?
I just mean like societies such as just societies that don't have a representative.
Okay. It's an interesting question. I agree they need to be communicated with. I mean, as VP Academic and External, my focus is academics and external affairs. And there are societies who play a role in specifically the academics part of that, like the Education Society. As for that question, I'll be honest, I can't think of an answer in my 2-minute time limit here, and I think that's sort of where the role of the team comes in, to come together. The people who have a bit more perhaps knowledge in that area could answer that question, recognizing that right now we're in sort of question and answer session, so I'm not going to pass it off, but that sort of question, if I got it in the future, let's say, if I was elected next year, I'd probably refer to the president and the VP Communications, because I think they're perhaps a little more well-suited to answer that question and may have more creative ideas. I'm not the most creative person, so.
All right, that's great, thank you.
Anybody else? Yeah.
Hey Travis. So I had a quick question. I feel like a lot of students don't realize the work you do. I know you do a lot of advertisement about lobbying especially, but I feel like a lot of students aren't aware of actual changes that are being made for them. It's one thing to lobby, it's another thing to see action. What actions are you going to take next year?
Well, I think the fundamental thing to remember about lobbying and advocacy, especially if you're working with the provincial government or the federal government, is that things don't happen in a year. And frankly, I think that will be one of the more challenging parts of the job to deal with, is understanding that the actions that I take if elected next year probably won't be realized in the time that I'm in office. And it does a number on, I think it will do a number on my motivation. I think we need to look at increasing our communication around advocacy priorities, but then also the actions that we're taking to act on those advocacy priorities. So for example, a meeting with the minister, a meeting with the premier, meetings with MLAs, presentations to committees, things like that. They need to be more effectively communicated. And certainly when the UPEISU gets a win next year, I would, if elected, look to make sure that that's adequately communicated to students. One thing that I believe is that it's not just one thing to have value, but you have to be able to demonstrate value, especially when you're in a membership-driven organization like the UPEISU. You need to be able to demonstrate to people that their money is having an impact. And so one thing I really believe in is communicating your successes when we get some successes.
Good stuff, thank you. Anybody else? No? Okay, well, thank you, Travis. In a minute.
Okay, thank you, Anastasia. All right, my name is Lucas MacArthur. I'm a third-year biology major, and also found out today that I have a psychology minor, so that's pretty cool too. So I'm running for UPEISU president. Basically, I'm ready to make lasting positive changes to your guys' union. I think it's extremely important that you have a president who really sees value in student input, and also someone who is ready to get out there and really engage with all the students that they're here to represent. And I believe that the Student Union is really just on the threshold of becoming something that everyone can be really proud of. And that's something that I hope to accomplish by working with council, executive, and all the staff members here at the union. Thanks.
Good stuff. 50 seconds. Look at you. Okay, so
I get that a lot.
first question. In your interpretation, what does the president of the UPEI Student Union do?
Okay, so textbook terms, the UPI-SU president is the chief executive officer of the UPI Student Union. That means that they're really in the leadership role here for the union, and I believe that the president is not only that, but it also you need to be someone who the executive and council can look for advice. Also, the president is the person responsible for setting the strategic direction of the organization, which is one thing that, if elected, I'm really excited to start working on. Also, there is the aspect of being the chief spokesperson for the organization as well, and it's important that the president is always ready to relay any information about the organization to the media, to the university, and to the students. I think that one thing that the president needs to be is someone who is working for the students. We have we have 4 other vice presidents who have very different portfolios, but the president is someone who kind of is a part of all of that, and I think there needs to be someone who is ready to step up and take that role on and be a part of the everyday life of the executive and ultimately the everyday life of the students here on campus.
Great, thank you. And Chris, clap for that. Okay. Trying to pick the interesting ones here.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Can you differentiate between the role of the VP Academic and External and the President?
Yeah, sure. So the VP Academic and External is the chief lobbyist for the organization. They're responsible for the promoting and the execution of all the advocacy that goes through the Student Union. And the president is there to support them, to attend meetings, and also really to be the person who says, this is probably the best thing for students. I think that Anastasia did do a lot of work with Travis this year in terms of meeting with municipal, provincial, and federal government officials, and obviously I hope to continue that. The Vice President Academic and External is really the person who's on the front lines of academics here at UPEI. The President should always be aware of issues that students are having, but the VP Academic and External is the person who deals with those on an everyday basis. They're working with students constantly on academic appeals, grievances, or anything else that's academically related. The president should always be aware of these things, but isn't the person who's actually helping with these issues. Also, what else does Travis do? Travis is also responsible to work on education campaigns, which is something that the president would obviously support that person in that role, but would not be solely responsible for the implementation of those campaigns.
And time. Okay, so, just trying to keep track here of the questions that I've asked. Next up, first-time undergraduate students from PEI are often the center of attention here at UPEI. What will be your strategy to effectively represent the needs of international, domestic, graduate, and mature students here on campus?
Okay, I think that I've definitely noticed a lot of this, especially as Orientation Week coordinator this year. We do put a very big emphasis on those island students coming here for the first time. And I think one way that really is we're engaging international students is through the UPI Buddy program. I would like to see that program become expanded and also start working with international students who aren't necessarily first-year students in that program. I think a lot of times we just kind of put them in the buddy program and think that everything will be okay, but we're not really doing very much follow-up on that. In terms of domestic students, at UPEI, we have a very diverse group of students. So it's extremely important that we're always constantly aware of what needs our constituents need, and also what is changing about education here at UPEI. I think we need to be constantly aware of those changes, and by working with the executive to be able to represent those students, whether that's with the VPA and their relationship with the societies, and even the VP Communications, to be someone who is really out there making sure that all our students' voices are heard. Did you mention ABC in there? Okay. Yeah, I'd also like to talk just really quickly about ABC students and their representation on campus. This year we've really made an effort to include them in all our initiatives, but I do think that there's a lot more work that needs to be done there. As well, it's great to hear that we have an education rep, because that's another group of students who really wasn't well represented this year because we didn't have a representative from on council. So it's really important that we're always trying to get those representatives on our council so we can make sure that all those students are being taken care of.
Excuse me. Okay. In your opinion, what is currently the most crucial issue facing the student union? And should you become the president next year, what specific and concrete steps will you take in order to affect change on this issue? You have 2 minutes. Good luck.
Okay. I think that the biggest issue the student union is facing right now, and I'm sure a lot of you will see it too, is the communication. I think that this year has really been a whirlwind of positives and negatives, and I think that concrete steps would be really, first things first, is really narrowing down what the VP Communications actually should be doing on a day-to-day basis. I think because it's a newer position, there's lots of times when there's some overlap, and lots of times when I think that they're flooded with information and everything can't get done properly. I think that the executive needs to really understand that that position isn't something that is really concrete, and it's important that we realize that and work together to fix that. I think concrete steps to that would be looking at the policy and the job descriptions of that vice president. It's in the process right now, although I don't think it's really where it should be. Also, I think that one thing that we need to be working on is our presence online, as well as what our posters and all our graphics look like. I think if we looked at the option of hiring a student to do the graphic design work for the student union, would not only help us, would not only bring our union to be something that, again, our students are proud of, but it also effectively change the way we're communicating. If students are stopping and looking at our things and saying, oh, that's kind of cool. So I think that those are both great ways to change the issue that we're having with communication, and I hope to see those two things happen next year if elected.
Thank you. Okay. Oh. We have two more questions, sorry, I lied. What is one quality about yourself that will need the most working on if you are to be elected as president of the student union?
I kind of figured that this one probably would come up. I'm going to say, although I'm working on it, is I have an inability to delegate properly. I think that I'm always really afraid of pushing other responsibilities on people. And I think that that's something that I really need to work on. I think that the way the executive is made up and council's made up, everyone really knows basically what they're supposed to be doing every day. So I think that structure will be able to help me fix that problem. But I really think it's taking a step back and realizing that everyone I'm working with is extremely capable. They're chosen by the students, and I ultimately know that they're going to be doing a great job. So I hope that I'll be able to properly delegate it.
Good stuff. Okay, one last one. As the president sits on the Student Union Budget Committee, are there any specific financial goals you would like to see achieved during your term in office?
Well, I think that any student union president would say that they would like to see the businesses in the black. I think that is something extremely important, and I think it's a great goal to have for an organization, is to improve how much money their businesses are making. On the other hand, I think that there is a lot of room to work on creating new initiatives that will better student life here at UPEI. I don't know if any of you had a chance to see my platform, but one thing I did mention was the creation of a student life fund. So basically, every year the student union would budget money away for a project that is decided by students. So we go through a submission process. Students would say, you know, it doesn't really matter what it is. It could be, let's put new chairs in the student union building. So we work on that, we take submissions, it goes through a process, and then at the end of the year we say, we have this money set aside, this is something that you guys asked for explicitly, let's change something. And I think it's things like that that really engage students, and when they're really part of the process of actual change is really when you get investment from students. So I think that having some sort of fund created to help students would really improve the investment and also the reception that the student union gets here on campus.
Great, thank you. You're almost out of the hot seat. You have 30 seconds to wrap up.
Okay, 30 seconds. So thank you all for taking this time to listen. Thank you for coming to this debate, and I'd like to thank everyone that's organized it. If you have any other questions, I have a Facebook page, Lucas MacArthur, UPSU President. My Twitter is at Lucas MacArthur, and you can send me an email at ljmacarthur@upi.ca. Thank you all for being here, and please vote yes for me on March 18th and 19th.
Good job, don't run away. Does anybody have questions? Yes, nice.
All right.
Okay,
So, I don't speak to a mic. All right. So this might be more of a question for the prospective VP-Com, but I noticed during this election there's a lot of people running unopposed, and also most people who are running are currently part of the student union. So, do you kind of see this as a problem that people who are, there's not new people getting involved in the student union, or you're not fostering interest in the student union? So, yeah, do you see this as a problem, and how might you fix that as president?
I think there's always two ways to look at things when positions are unopposed. It's either, oh, I'm happy with what's happening, I don't need to run, or there's people who step up and say, I want to change something. I think that the lack of people running for positions really does show a lack of investment with the student union. I think that this has been an interesting year for elections. We saw a poor voter turnout in the fall by-election. That's hopefully going to change for this following election. But I really think it's important that we're highlighting what roles and positions we are advertising for during these elections. I think a lot of students aren't really sure what the Vice President Academic and External does, what the Vice President Communications does. So I think that it's very important that we continue to promote these positions and really take our elections seriously, because without these elections and without this process, we're not going to have proper representation with the student union. So if elected president, I hope that we do take elections very seriously, and also are also promoting our elections and promoting the positions that people can run for. Thank you.
Any other questions? Going once. Okay.
Hi. So you might have touched on this a little bit in some of the other answers, but I'm just curious if you have a plan, what your plan is to make yourself as an individual more visible on campus to students, so that students are aware that you are the UPISU president.
Yeah, I think that one thing that I have to my advantage is how I know how students felt. I was a first-year student who came in with not my graduating class. I took a year off between high school, so I was the new guy in the program, and I had to meet new people, and I had to get involved. And I think that recognizing that there's a lot of people on our campus who, as soon as they leave, are turned off from UPEI. They don't care what's going on after their classes are finished, and I think that as a president, it's important to be there at those moments when students are like, do I really want to stay on campus? So I think that that really starts September when students get here. I plan on being at every single orientation week event if I can. I think that that's a huge place to engage first-year students. I also think taking the time to meet with societies and other groups on campus is another way to increase visibility. I'm sure that we have, everyone in this room is probably part of a society, or it has been at one point. I think if the president came to a meeting at least once a year and spoke to those students, it's something that's really easy to do, and also I think would be extremely effective.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yeah. Also, love that we have a wireless mic now.
As a former athlete, I find that, I don't know, there's not a lot of school spirit, and it sucks because you look at schools like St. FX, etc., they have a lot of support, and that makes a big difference when you're on the field, whether you have support or not. And I'm not saying that you can do that in 1 year, but I guess, do you have any type of initiatives that will change that or get the school involved? Or, I don't know how many student union executives have been to sports games here, like at the university throughout the year. Do you think that athletics is something important? Like I know at St. FX, every time there's a hockey game on a Friday night, every student at St. FX is usually there. So I don't know how you could engage students so that they could be more involved and have more spirit on campus. Not only with sports, but why aren't people at the music symphonies, or why aren't they at the, what is it, two pianos and a soprano or something?
Yeah, and I do agree with that. I think that a common theme of all these of past elections has been the lack of high school spirit and student apathy. I think that the student union needs to be supportive of athletics and needs to be also supportive of every other student on campus. I think that there has been a disconnect as of late between the student union and the Department of Athletics. I think that that's something that we need to work on. There's so many students working for the athletics department, and we're not really building that bridge between that. I think that I don't know if even students know that they do get free admission to sports games and things. I don't think that that's advertised. And I think that that's something, if students think that there's a lack of school spirit, I think that that is something that the student union should be focusing on. And also I think that that's something that students need to come forward with. I don't think 5 people in an office can really change how everyone else feels, but I think they can facilitate something. I think that they can create opportunities for students to understand that maybe we don't have enough school spirit and give them opportunities to do things. I think that we could be offering incentives to go to games. And there's things like that I think sometimes just get swept under the rug. All of us are worried about how we're doing in school and what's going on with our friends. University is a pretty tough time. And sometimes the idea of going to a sports game or going to an event that's held at the university isn't something that's on people's top priority. But I do think that advertising and engaging with students that wouldn't necessarily always go to those games would be something that could fix that problem.
Good stuff. And we'll take one last question if there's one. Yeah.
Hi, sorry, I haven't exactly completely formulated my question yet, but I guess what I'm wondering, as of recently, there are significant changes going on within different programs at the university. I'm just wondering, I guess, what you would do to ensure that you get proper feedback from the students on their thoughts on the changes, rather than just, I guess, what the faculties decide to do.
And I'd imagine you're probably kind of coming from the changes in the education program. And if I'm going to speak to that example, I do think that increased representation would definitely be the answer to that. The student union should have been with students throughout that process and should have been a part of that transition into a one-year program. And I think that we definitely lost that opportunity because we didn't have a rep on council. I think that with any change in any program, it's also important that we have the person who is in charge of academics, the Vice President Academic and External, aware of all those changes and always constantly wondering if those changes are bettering the education of our students. I think that as president, their role is to make sure that students are happy on campus and are also receiving the best possible education. So I think that holding town halls and information sessions that are actually facilitated by the counselors who sit on council would be an excellent way to engage those students who are dealing with those changes in their programs. As an example, if there was more changes to the arts program, there would be a town hall that would be kind of led with the arts representatives, with the president, with the rest of the executive, so they really can make sure that our students are being represented and our students are being taken care of.
Great, thank you. And thank you, Lucas. I'm sure he'll, oh.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Sorry.
That's okay.
How are you doing, Lucas?
Good.
Okay, so my question to you is, obviously class visits haven't been going well so far during this election season, and also you don't see a lot of candidates here or yesterday at the introduction. So you talked about student apathy. How do you plan on addressing apathy within the union itself?
Okay, one thing that I've really noticed, I've sat on council for the last 2 years. We're elected to serve students, and as my first year as a science representative, I only sat on one committee for half an hour, and I had a student union council meeting every second week for 3 hours on a Sunday. This is a commitment. Councilors have to be committed to what they're doing, and I think that we need to be engaging our councilors and really saying that you have said this is a huge commitment. And I think that a lot of us, when we're trying to run for these positions, think, oh, am I going to have enough time? I'm really busy this semester. But in reality, I think when our counselors come to council, they're like, oh, I have to be on an executive committee, which is an hour a week, and then I go to council every second week. I think that there needs to be more opportunities for counselors to be involved, and I think that if we had that, then we would see more people here. I think we'd see more counselors here. I think we'd see more people who are associated with the union here. And ultimately, I think we'd see more students here too if we had all our representatives here all the time.
Great, thank you. Can I walk in front of the camera? Okay, Lucas, thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm sure he'll stick around if you do have any other questions. And this concludes our candidates debate for the spring general election. I'm sure the candidates will be around for a few more minutes, those that are here. If you have any questions about the referendum questions or the process going forward, come find us after.